The wedding planner studied her seating chart with growing confusion. "I'm sorry, but I have someone listed as miscellaneous guest at table 12. That can't be right for a family member." My sister Rachel waved her hand dismissively while adjusting her cathedral veil. "Oh, that's just my sister Maya. Put her with the servers if you need to make room. She's basically table filler anyway." I stood 20 feet away, pretending to admire the ice sculptures while listening to every word. The country club's grand ballroom buzzed with pre-reception energy as Seattle's social elite mingled in their designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Rachel had married into the Whitfield family, third-generation real estate moguls with properties spanning the Pacific Northwest. Table 12 sat behind a marble pillar, next to the kitchen doors where servers rushed in and out with champagne trays. My place card simply read, "Guest," with no family designation, no acknowledgement that I shared DNA with the bride. Even the wedding photographer had skipped our table during family portraits. "At least Maya showed up looking presentable," Mom said, appearing beside me with her usual critical assessment. She eyed my simple black cocktail dress with barely concealed disappointment. "Though I suppose this is the best she could afford on her situation." The family narrative had crystallized over the past 5 years. Rachel was the golden child, Harvard MBA, senior marketing director at a Fortune 500 tech company, now married to heir Christopher Whitfield. I was the cautionary tale, the sister who'd wasted her potential by disappearing into some mysterious government job nobody understood, living in a studio apartment, driving a beat-up Camry. Maya could have been something special, Dad regularly told his golf buddies, if she'd just stayed focused like Rachel instead of chasing these federal positions that go nowhere. What they didn't know was that my nowhere government job involved serving as special cultural ambassador for Southeast Asian affairs, managing diplomatic relationships worth billions in trade agreements. My studio apartment was State Department housing during briefings between international assignments. My beat-up car collected dust while I traveled on diplomatic passports to negotiate treaties in 5 languages. My secure phone vibrated. Delegation arriving early for evening briefing. Cultural protocol amendments need your review before tomorrow's opening session. I glanced around the opulent ballroom, calculating timing. The Whitfield family connections included federal judges, city council members, and several tech executives with government contracts. The guest list represented exactly the kind of influential network that would witness what was about to unfold. Through the main entrance, I spotted them. 5 individuals in formal diplomatic attire, each carrying the unmistakable bearing of seasoned international negotiators. Ambassador Lin Zhang from the Chinese consulate led the group, her eyes scanning the room with professional interest. Rachel noticed them too, her perfectly contoured face creasing with confusion. "Chris, who are those people? They look important, but they're not on our list." Christopher Whitfield approached the group with the confidence of inherited privilege. "Good evening. I'm Christopher Whitfield. Are you perhaps guests of my family?" Ambassador Zhang smiled with diplomatic politeness. "We're here for Ambassador Chin. I believe she's attending this celebration." The blood drained from Christopher's face as he processed the title. His eyes darted across the room, searching for anyone who might fit that description. "There must be some confusion," Rachel interjected, rushing over in her $5,000 gown. "Nobody here is an ambassador. This is just a family wedding." Ambassador Zhang consulted her phone with professional efficiency. Ambassador Chen confirmed her attendance at this family celebration. "We have preliminary summit documents requiring her review before tomorrow's opening ceremonies." Summit. Christopher's mother materialized beside them, her political instincts activated by the mention of official business. Margaret Whitfield had spent decades cultivating connections in Seattle's power circles. "What kind of summit?" "The Pacific Rim Cultural Exchange Summit," replied Dr. Kenji Tanaka, the delegation's trade attaché. 4 nations, 62 delegates, 3 weeks of negotiations affecting cultural and economic partnerships worth approximately $15 billion. The wedding guest had begun to notice the formally dressed delegation, conversations quieting as people strained to hear details about international summits and billion-dollar negotiations at what was supposed to be a simple society wedding. Mom appeared at my elbow, her voice tight with mounting panic. "Aya, what's happening? Why are these people asking about an ambassador?" Before I could respond, Ambassador Zhang spotted me across the room. Her entire demeanor brightened as she approached with purposeful strides. Ambassador Chen. Excellent timing. Minister Yamamoto sends his regards about the cultural heritage protocols, and we have the revised trade language you requested. The ballroom fell completely silent. 250 guests froze mid-conversation as they watched this distinguished international delegation treat their designated table filler as someone of obvious importance and authority. "I'm sorry," Rachel stammered, her voice rising with each word, "but there's clearly been a massive mistake. This is my sister Maya. She works for some random government department. She lives in a studio apartment. She drives a 12-year-old car with a broken air conditioner." Dr. Tanaka consulted his tablet with academic precision. Ambassador Chen graduated magna cum laude from Georgetown's Walsh School of Foreign Service, completed advanced diplomatic training at the Foreign Service Institute, and has been managing sensitive multilateral negotiations for the past 4 years. Her work on the Seattle Asia Cultural Accord was particularly groundbreaking. Dad stepped forward, his face flushed with confused anger. "This is absolutely ridiculous. Maya barely makes $30,000 a year. We've been helping with her rent. She borrowed $200 for a dress last month." Ambassador Zhang exchanged a meaningful glance with her colleagues. Ms. Chen's financial arrangements are part of standard diplomatic cover protocols. The State Department maintains appropriate identities to protect personnel during sensitive international assignments. Cover protocols? Mom's voice cracked as she struggled to process the information. "Routine security measure," Dr. Tanaka confirmed matter-of-factly. Ambassador Chen has been operating under deep cover for operational security. Her reported circumstances provide excellent protection for international travel and cultural research activities. The Whitfield family patriarch recovered his composure first, his real estate instincts recognizing unexpected opportunity. "Well, this is certainly remarkable news. The Whitfield family has always valued international relationships." He extended his hand toward me. "We had no idea we had such distinguished connections through marriage." I remained perfectly still, not accepting his handshake. The slight was subtle but unmistakable to everyone watching. Rachel grabbed my arm with desperate intensity. "Maya, if this is all true, why didn't you tell us? Why let us think you were just what, Rachel?" I asked quietly. "Failure. A disappointment. Someone who wasted her potential." The diplomatic corps observed this family drama with professional interest. Christopher's pharmaceutical connections meant several guests included federal regulators and international trade officials. Word of tonight's revelation would reach influential circles within hours. "The briefing materials," Ambassador Zhang said gently, presenting a leather portfolio marked with official State Department seals. "We'll need your preliminary assessment before tomorrow's cultural committees convene." I accepted the portfolio, and its weight seemed to physically shift the power dynamics throughout the room. Every guest could see the classification markings, the official seals, the unmistakable evidence of genuine diplomatic authority. "Maya," Dad said weakly, "we should talk about this. As a family." "Actually," I replied, checking my diplomatic watch, "I have an international briefing to conduct. 4 nations are depending on the preliminary work we complete tonight, and the cultural exchange protocols can't be delayed for personal conversations." Rachel's perfect wedding reception had transformed into something entirely different. A stage where her embarrassing sister was revealed as someone who operated in circles the Whitfield family could never access, no matter how much money they possessed. "Perhaps we could utilize your private conference room for our briefing?" Ambassador Zhang suggested to the Whitfield patriarch, who nodded eagerly, clearly hoping to maintain proximity to this unexpected diplomatic development. As we moved toward the conference facilities, Minister Sato from the Japanese delegation arrived with his security escort. Wedding guests stepped aside automatically, whispers spreading through the crowd as they witnessed formal diplomatic protocols unfolding at what was supposed to be a simple society celebration. "Maya, wait." Rachel caught up to us in the hallway, her train dragging across the marble floor. "This is my wedding reception. You can't just take over my entire event." Minister Sato paused, his expression diplomatically curious. "Ambassador Chen, is there a scheduling conflict?" We can certainly relocate if this family celebration takes priority over summit preparations. The question hung in the elegant hallway like a diplomatic ultimatum. 4 years of family dismissals, for years of being treated as the underachieving sister, for years of borrowing money I didn't need to maintain my cover identity. No conflict at all, Minister Sato, I replied in fluent Japanese, causing several eavesdropping guests to audibly gasp. My family was simply surprised to learn about my actual profession and responsibilities. Dad stepped forward desperately. Maya, sweetheart, we've always been proud of you. We just didn't understand the full scope of your work. You understood exactly what you wanted to understand, I interrupted, returning to English. You understood that I was an embarrassment. That I was table filler at family events. That I needed financial assistance for basic clothing. I gestured to my understated black dress. This happens to be diplomatic formal wear that cost more than Rachel's entire wedding gown. State Department protocols are quite specific about official functions. Margaret Whitfield approached with obvious political calculation. Ambassador Chen, the Whitfield family has always maintained excellent relationships with government officials. Perhaps we could discuss future collaboration. Mrs. Whitfield, Dr. Tanaka interjected politely. Ambassador Chen's schedule is completely committed for the next several months. Summit responsibilities require her undivided attention. Rachel's face crumpled as she realized her perfect wedding was being overshadowed by the sister she'd relegated to the servants' table. But this was supposed to be my special day. Ambassador Zhang checked her diplomatic timepiece. Ambassador Chen, we do need to begin preliminary briefings. The Australian minister will be joining us via secure video conference in 15 minutes. I nodded with professional authority, then addressed my family with cool finality. The briefing session will require approximately 4 hours. Please, don't let my work obligations interrupt Rachel's celebration. Continue enjoying the reception. The dismissal was absolute and publicly devastating. In front of Seattle's most influential social circle, I'd just reduced my own family to background noise while conducting international business that made their concerns seem trivial by comparison. As the diplomatic delegation followed me toward the conference room, I heard Dad pleading desperately with Ambassador Zhang. Surely there must be some way we could be involved? I have extensive business experience, international connections. Ambassador Zhang's response was diplomatically brutal. Ambassador Chen's professional relationships are based exclusively on expertise and security clearances. Personal family connections are not factors in diplomatic appointments. The conference room door closed behind us, leaving my family to face their wedding guests' questions about how they'd managed to completely misunderstand their own daughter for 4 consecutive years. The Pacific Rim Summit concluded 3 weeks later with unprecedented diplomatic success. The cultural exchange agreements I'd negotiated made international headlines, with my photograph appearing alongside 4 foreign ministers on the front page of the Seattle Times business section. My phone had been ringing constantly since the wedding. Rachel, Mom, Dad, even Margaret Whitfield, all desperately attempting to reconnect with their newly discovered, distinguished family member. Every call went directly to voicemail. The State Department offered me a permanent posting in Singapore with a substantial promotion and expanded regional authority. I accepted without hesitation. During my final week in Seattle, I received an elaborate invitation to dinner at the Whitfield family estate, to properly celebrate Maya's incredible diplomatic achievements, according to the gold-embossed card. I declined with professional courtesy, citing prior international commitments. Instead, I spent my farewell evening at a quiet restaurant with Ambassador Zhang and Dr. Tanaka, reviewing implementation strategies for our new trade protocols. Meaningful work with colleagues who'd respected my expertise from our first introduction. Rachel appeared at my temporary apartment the night before my departure, her designer makeup streaked with tears. Maya, please. I know we made terrible mistakes, but we're still family. You can't just abandon us forever. I'm not abandoning anyone, I replied with calm certainty. I'm accepting a career advancement. Something you never believed I was capable of achieving. She stood in my doorway, her wedding ring catching the light, finally understanding that her table filler sister was walking away from them permanently. Not from anger or revenge, but with the quiet confidence of someone who'd found her rightful place in the world. The diplomatic transport arrived at precisely 7 the next morning. As we drove toward the airport, I didn't glance back at the city skyline. I had 4 nations depending on my cultural expertise and professional obligations that finally matched my actual capabilities. The wedding reception had concluded exactly as it should have, with everyone understanding their appropriate place at the international table.